always been a novel reader, and I don't think I took short stories all that seriously when I began, which is a terrible thing for an editor of short stories to confess. But I had just become a mother, and there was something about the form that really attracted me in my new life, because I didn't have a lot of time ever to sit down and read at a stretch. Canison was another keeper of file cards, but she managed to stay on top of the fast flow. Failing to stay on top of the tide was to drown in unread literary journals. Canison oversaw the series until 2006. It was not easy to find information about my predecessors. One scholarly book about O'Brien that largely focused on his religiosity and the poetry that he'd written, a partially written memoir of Foley. I interviewed Ravenel and Canison, but reading through my notes, I saw that there was much I hadn't thought to ask, and I hated to trouble them for even more time. In the end, I wanted to know things that maybe even they would have been unable to answer or remember. Who were these people who'd taken on the same challenge I had? What kept them reading all those stories year after year? What kept them confident in their ability to choose the best? How would they describe the experience of suddenly coming across an excellent story by a first-time author? And where did they read? Was it always at home? At a desk or in a den, an office? Did they have one chair that they preferred? Did their minds ever wander? What tenses or points of view, if any, made them itch? Were these four people influenced by politics, literature, culture, something else? How about their own moods? Did an unexpected bill or a sick child or upsetting news make it difficult for them to follow the threads of so many stories? Editors are meant to be objective arbiters of taste, curators, but can anyone really be objective about what they love? I admit all of the following with hesitation. I've never had training to be an editor of any type. I have no degree in literature, although I do have a master's in creative writing. Reading past volumes of the series was my only real training. There was no handoff or passing of the torch between Canison and me. I was lucky that I'd been the in-house editor of the book for years and could jump in quickly. Here's something else. There were moments when reading even one more short story is as appealing as plucking out my own eyeball. And this. Sometimes I cannot tell you with any sense of certainty whether a story is brilliant or terrible. Sometimes I deliberate with a guest editor whose reaction or non-reaction is the same as mine, and together we take a deep breath and jump, usually onto the side of brilliant. And my mind wanders all the time. Focus has gotten harder for me over time. I have envied the other series editors, less so Canison, for not having to contend with the internet, the world's most effective distraction. I am very much influenced by politics, culture, my own moods, the moods of my children, the moods of the country. I read everywhere. At home, sprawled on my couch, in waiting rooms, in libraries, and coffee shops. Instead of index cards, I use a plain old Microsoft Word document where I list and grade all the stories that pass muster to me. It is one way to make something that is by nature amorphous and subjective and unruly seem more manageable. In my 18 years as series editor, I have thought of O'Brien, Foley, Ravenel, and Canison often. I can think of no other people who have known the strangeness of reading American short stories, no translations or excerpts, alone day in and day out. No coworkers or friends or family members have had the experience of taking in all of those voices and narratives over such a long period of time. If I could have a dinner party with anyone from history, no question, it would be those four people. Though we've lived through different times, vastly different moments of history, and though the writers we've championed are as different as Ernest Hemingway and Roxane Gay, Dorothy Parker and Ha Jin, I suspect that, like me, my predecessors experienced profound awe at the sheer multitude of people, writers,